In today's video, we're going to talk about something you may have felt, but never had the courage to admit. As the years go by, especially after 60 or 70, a lot changes. Your body, your energy, your priorities, and even the way you look at the people around you. And I know what I'm about to say might sound strange, but after I turned 70, I started avoiding people. Not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but because I realized how valuable it is to protect my peace, my energy, and the time I have left. Maybe this has happened to you too. Have you found yourself being more selective about who you spend time with? Have you preferred staying home in peace rather than going to gatherings that don't truly fulfill you? Well, there's a reason for that. In fact, there are several, and that's exactly what I'm going to share with you today. And here's the thing. It's not about isolating yourself from the world, but about understanding that at this stage in life, every hour, every conversation, and every bit of company should be worth it. Throughout this video, I'll show you what's changed in my life, what I've learned, and how you can apply it to live with more peace, emotional well-being, and meaning. And let me give you a heads up. The last part is the most liberating of all. Once you understand it, you'll realize you'll never look at your relationships the same way again. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and come with me, because by the end of this video, you may discover the key to living the years ahead with much more lightness and fulfillment. When you reach 70, time stops being just something you measure on a calendar or a clock. It becomes almost like a character in your life, a silent companion, sometimes gentle, sometimes demanding, always reminding you that each new day is unique and will never come again. When I was younger, time felt infinite. It was as if there was an endless reserve of hours, days, and years ahead. I would allow myself to waste entire afternoons in shallow conversations, social events that drained more than they added, and obligations I accepted only to please others. I thought it didn't matter. After all, there would always be tomorrow. But after a certain age, you realize that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And surprisingly, this truth doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like a call to live more consciously. You understand that it's not about doing more things, it's about doing the right things. It's not about being with more people, it's about being with the right people. Today, every hour I have is chosen carefully, like someone selecting the ripest fruit at the market. I'd rather have a long coffee with someone who truly listens to me than be in a room full of acquaintances talking endlessly but saying nothing. I'd rather take a peaceful walk, feeling the wind on my face, than be stuck in commitments that drain my energy. And this conscious choice changes everything. When you start valuing your time this way, you realize that you're not only taking care of the hours in your day, you're taking care of your life itself. You give yourself permission to say no without guilt, to close the door on what doesn't make sense, and to make space for what truly matters. The result is a simpler life, but one that's much richer. Because in the end, it's not about how much you live, it's about how well you live. As the decades have passed, I've realized that relationships change, and they change a lot. Some grow stronger, like old trees that withstand storms, standing firm with deep roots. Others simply fade away, not because of arguments or resentment, but because life moves forward and each person takes a different path. When I was younger, I thought I had to keep every connection alive at any cost. I made an effort to remember birthdays, attend every gathering, always be available to help. I believe that was what it meant to be a good person, a good friend, a good family member. But the truth is, maintaining certain relationships requires energy that sometimes isn't returned in the same measure. There are bonds that turn into a weight, and you don't even notice until you start feeling tired, overwhelmed, or even sad after seeing someone. Today, at 70, I understand that stepping back from what doesn't make me feel good isn't selfishness. It's self-care. It's not about cutting people out of my life, but about recognizing that some are meant to play a role for a certain period, and it's perfectly fine when that cycle ends. I've also learned that we change. Our interests change. Our priorities change. Even our way of seeing the world changes. And when that happens, it's natural for certain conversations to lose their meaning, for certain environments to become uncomfortable. Now, I choose to surround myself with people who add value, who truly listen, who respect me without trying to change me. I prefer a few deep relationships over dozens of shallow connections. And interestingly, the smaller my circle gets, the richer it becomes, because everyone there matters, and every moment together holds true value. This is one of the greatest freedoms that age gives us, understanding that not everyone is meant to stay, and the relationships that remain are the ones truly worthy of our time and our heart. As the years have passed, I've realized that trust is one of the most fragile and most valuable things we can have. When I was younger, I trusted easily. I believed in people's good intentions, opened my home, my thoughts, and even my dreams without much hesitation. I thought trust was something natural, almost automatic. But life, over time, shows you that not everyone has the same intentions as you. There's the disappointment of a friend who seemed genuine, but was only around as long as there was something to gain. A family member who drifts away without explanation, leaving questions that are never answered. A business partner who puts their own interests above any agreement. These experiences leave marks. And at 70, I realize that trust is still necessary, but it needs to be built more slowly, with more observation, and above all, with boundaries. Today, I don't let just anyone into my emotional space. It's not about bitterness, it's about protection. I've also learned that trust isn't only about others. It's, first and foremost, about trusting myself, trusting my instincts when something doesn't feel right, trusting my ability to walk away from toxic environments, even if it means ending old relationships, trusting that when I say no, I'm taking care of my emotional health. Interestingly, I still meet people who restore my faith in humanity. Small gestures, like a stranger holding the door, a neighbor checking in on a rainy day, remind me that kindness still exists. But now I filter more carefully, and I value every true bond I'm able to cultivate. Today, trust is like a door, open enough to let in affection, love, and friendship, but strong enough to block anything that could harm me. And to me, that's one of the greatest achievements of growing older. As time has passed, I've noticed the world around me has changed in ways that sometimes make me long for how things used to be. It's not just the speed at which everything happens today. It's the way people relate to one another. When I was younger, neighbors were almost like family. We knew each other by name, knocked on doors without warning, shared coffee together, and offered help before anyone had to ask. Conversations happened on sidewalks, on front porches, and there was no rush. There was time to listen, time to be present. Today, it feels like everyone is chasing something: success, recognition, money, or simply trying to keep up with the demands of modern life. Visits have become rare, conversations are rushed and often superficial. Even within families, I sometimes feel that bonds have stretched thin, weakened by both physical and emotional distance. Technology has brought many conveniences, yes. I can see my grandchildren's faces from miles away, or talk to friends I haven't seen in years. But I also noticed that screens have created invisible barriers. The lack of eye contact, the tone of voice, the warm hug that says more than 1,000 words, the constant hum of notifications, news, and endless information makes me feel like the world has grown noisier and, paradoxically, lonelier. Sometimes, all I want is to turn off my phone, close the door, and retreat into the silence, just to hear my own thoughts again. It's not that I dislike change. I know every era has its value, but I miss the depth of relationships, the time when being together was truly appreciated. Today, I realize it takes a conscious effort to have real conversations, to disconnect from the rush, and to genuinely connect with someone. That's why, at 70, I choose to seek and preserve what is still genuine. I prefer a few meaningful moments over many empty interactions, because, in the end, it's those real encounters that leave good marks and lasting memories. For a long time, I associated being alone with feeling lonely. In my younger years, the idea of spending an evening without company seemed sad to me, almost as if it were a sign that something was wrong. I thought I always needed to be surrounded by people to feel alive. But time and life taught me that there's a huge difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is an emptiness. It's that feeling that something is missing, that you want to be with someone but can't, or you can't find the right person. Solitude, on the other hand, is a state of fullness. It's being at peace with your own company, without needing distractions to fill the silence. Today, at 70, I realize that some of my happiest and most meaningful moments happen precisely when I'm alone. It's in the quiet of the morning with a hot cup of coffee in my hands that I can hear the birds singing, feel the sunlight coming through the window, and simply exist. It's during an unhurried walk with the wind on my face that I put my thoughts in order. It's while leafing through a book with no set time to finish, or writing memories that perhaps no one will ever read, that I find a kind of joy that doesn't depend on approval or company. Solitude has also given me space to reflect on life, to revisit old memories without pain, but with gratitude. I've been able to accept past mistakes, value victories, and understand that every experience, good or bad, brought me to where I am today. This doesn't mean that I've cut off the world around me. I still deeply value being with my grandchildren, meeting a dear friend, or taking part in a special family moment. The difference is that now, these interactions are choices, not obligations. I no longer force myself to attend gatherings that leave me feeling empty. I prefer quality over quantity. And perhaps this is one of the greatest lessons of this stage in life. Learning to enjoy your own company, to respect your own limits, and to understand that sometimes silence is more comforting than 1,000 words. Solitude has taught me that my worth is not in the number of people around me, but in my ability to be whole with myself.
After 7 decades of living, learning, helping, and many times getting hurt, I've come to a simple but transformative conclusion. Avoiding certain people is not a sign of bitterness, it's a sign of protection. protection of my peace, protection of my energy, protection of the little yet precious time I still have ahead. For many years, I was the kind of person who always put others first. I gave my time, my shoulder, my ear, always trying to be the friend who's there, the reliable family member, the support everyone could count on. I believed that always being available was a virtue, and for a long time, it made me feel good. But life is also a teacher, and sometimes the most important lessons take decades to learn. Over time, I realized that some relationships drained much more than they offered, that some people only showed up when they needed something, that certain company was, in reality, a burden disguised as affection. There were moments when I ignored clear signs that something was wrong because I wanted to believe in the good side of people. There were situations where I accepted small daily wounds, thinking this is normal, or it's just part of being loyal. Today, I understand that I don't need that anymore. Avoiding people who bring drama, who don't respect my time, who don't truly care about my well-being is not selfishness. It's self-care. This doesn't mean closing myself off from the world. It means creating space for what is real, genuine, and reciprocal. I maintain and take good care of the relationships that prove their value with actions, not just words. And I've realized that with a smaller but more genuine circle, every conversation is richer, every moment more special, because it's there by choice, not obligation. Avoiding what doesn't do me good has, perhaps, been one of the most liberating decisions of my life. I often find myself wondering, do other people my age feel the same way? Does time naturally make us more selective, more careful about who we let into our lives? Or is it the disappointments, betrayals, and emotional wear and tear that teach us, sometimes the hard way, to guard our hearts and put peace above everything else? Looking back, I can see that much of my younger life was spent trying to please others, meet expectations, and be everything to everyone. I wanted to be the reliable friend, the loyal partner, the present family member, and in doing so, I often put my own needs last. In the end, I realized that after giving so much of myself, there was very little left for me. Over time, I learned to say no without guilt. I learned that choosing solitude over a meaningless gathering isn't isolation, it's self-care. I learned that there's nothing wrong with wanting space to breathe, reflect, and simply be without having to justify it to anyone. Maybe you felt this too. Maybe you've started to pull away from relationships that no longer add value, from conversations that drain you, from environments that take more energy than they give. Maybe you've realized that when it comes to the people in your life, quality matters infinitely more than quantity. And yes, it's a process. Sometimes this change feels like letting go of a part of who we used to be. But in reality, it's making room for something far greater: peace, joy, and the things that truly matter in this stage of life. If you can relate, know that you're not alone. There's no rule book for living this chapter. Everyone finds their own way. Some remain happy in large social circles, while others find fulfillment in smaller, deeper connections. And that's perfectly fine. What matters is that after a certain age, life is no longer about pleasing everyone. It's about living authentically, lightly, and without apologizing for choosing what's best for your soul. Reaching the age of 70 has made me see life not as a series of endings, but as a series of new beginnings. Each stage brings its own challenges, lessons, and beauty, and this one is no different. This chapter of life, with its calm, simplicity, and deeper reflections, feels like the sum of everything I've lived. It's the moment to embrace who I've become and to let go of everything that no longer makes sense. When we're young, we live with a constant urgency to achieve more, do more, prove more. We carry an almost restless desire to reach what's out there, always believing happiness lies in the next step. But with time, we realize that much of what we've been searching for was in truth right here, in the present. It's not about giving up, it's about changing focus. Now, the value lies in the simple moments. The morning light streaming through the window, the laughter of a grandchild, the warm embrace of someone you love. These little things become great because they are what sustain us and remind us of what truly matters. It's also a time to reflect on the road traveled. I look back not with regret, but with gratitude, for the victories that filled me with pride, for the mistakes that taught me resilience, and even for the pains that shaped me in ways I couldn't understand before. Every experience, big or small, has been a thread in the fabric of my life.
And yet, it's not just about the past. There is a quiet joy in knowing there is still time to create, to learn, and to grow. Time to tend a garden, explore a new hobby, or simply be fully present in the moment. The greatest freedom of this stage is being able to say no. No to obligations that drain your energy. No to relationships that no longer hold meaning. No to the pressure of trying to be everything to everyone. By doing this, we make space for what truly matters: peace, love, and genuine connection. At 70, I no longer fear being judged for my choices. I'm proud to have earned the right to live on my own terms, to prioritize my well-being, and to speak my truth. In the end, embracing this chapter means accepting the past without clinging to it, living the present fully, and looking to the future with hope. It means finding beauty in everyday life, nurturing the relationships that matter, and letting go of everything that doesn't bring peace. It's not always easy. There are moments of loneliness, of longing, of wondering what comes next. But even in those moments, there's a quiet strength reminding me I've made it this far and I have everything I need to keep going. Perhaps this is the most authentic, honest, and peaceful chapter of my entire journey. And it's in this chapter that I choose to live, one day at a time, deeply, truthfully, and without fear of being who I truly am. And if you've made it this far, maybe you've felt that, in some way, these words also speak about you. Because deep down, this stage of life isn't just about age. It's about freedom. The freedom to choose how to spend the time we have left, who to share it with, and, most importantly, how to take care of ourselves. Here on the Longevity Channel, that's exactly what we aim to do – help you live with more health, awareness, and meaning no matter your age. Each video here is an invitation to reflect, to learn, and to apply small changes that can transform your quality of life. If this message resonated with you, leave your comment with the number 1 below. And if you want to go even deeper, check out our exclusive ebook created especially for those who want to live with more strength, balance, and well-being after 60. Inside, you'll find practical guidance, simple exercises to maintain independence, strategies to preserve your energy, and reflections that can transform the way you live this stage of life. It's available for a symbolic price right below this video, and by getting it, you'll also be supporting our work so we can continue producing serious, useful, and life-changing content for those who need it most. Life is far too short to live on autopilot. Choose to be present, choose what makes you feel good, and above all, choose to live in a way that truly makes sense for you. Because at the end of the day, that is the greatest achievement we can have.